Thanks everyone for jumping in and joining Spot Solutions and joining us to go over this webinar. As you can see, we're excited to share M365 adoption journey, and we're going to spend the next 60 minutes or so going through that. I do want to make a couple notes on my end. We'll do some introductions shortly after here, but on my end, we do have the Q&A option here. So I know questions will arise as we go. Please take advantage of that. There's a Q&A button there. You can put them in there. And if for some reason we don't get a chance to get to that during this session, we're happy to follow up with you after offline. And one other final thing too, if there are more questions and more business needs, Spot Solutions happy to provide 30 free minutes with our business analyst to go through any of your business needs and if there's anything that comes up during that. So again, I will now pass this off to Tamara to get things going.
Hi everyone, my name's Tamara Hegan and I'm really excited to share this with you guys today. So let's just jump right in to the M365 adoption journey. First, I'm going to just share our Spot webinar team. That's myself, Tamara Hegan, project manager and business analyst, and a SharePoint and Microsoft 365 specialist. John Awanas, our director of sales, whom you just met. Rafi bin Ali and Arash Jahani are two senior developers and Power Platform specialists. So together we're going to deliver this content to you and help you get through your M365 adoption journey. So a job worth doing is worth doing together. So Microsoft 365 helps us to connect our organizations. So what is Microsoft 365 or M365? It's a modern digital workspace that includes tools like SharePoint Online for collaboration and document management, Exchange Online for email, Microsoft Teams for events, video meetings and calling, Power Automate for workflow and process automation, Power Ops for mobile data collection and forms, Power BI to visualize your data and reporting, and Office 365 for document creation suite, your traditional Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So Microsoft 365 takes in all of these tools. These are only the most popular though. There's other tools and features that are included in M365 that we'll talk about a little later that connect into these. So the question everybody asks themselves is, why should we adopt Microsoft 365? What's in it for us? So organizations recognize a need to modernize. You get to a point where you realize that what you need to do in this modern digital world can't be done simply by using the old methods. Microsoft 365 gives you a number of different tools, tips, techniques, and features in a scalable environment. So you don't have to start with everything. You can build the things you need most at first. And that's that progressive ability to implement tools and features over a longer time. That's why we call Microsoft 365 adoption a journey, not a sprint. It's going to take time to identify the pieces that are most critical to your organization and then to implement them in a way that doesn't overwhelm your employees. So what does a typical adoption journey look like in the first year? Typically, you're going to identify that you need these modern collaboration tools, whether it's because of work from home or remote working or other reasons. You realize you need to do something to modernize your process. From there, we're going to identify which of the Microsoft 365 components need to be implemented first, or which ones are going to have the biggest, most important impact on your organization based on everything that you guys have been doing up to this point. So deciding which of these items is the one that you need to be working with. And then baseline implementation of the components that you've chosen. Lots of people choose to start with OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, or Exchange Online for email. Not always, but that's often the beginning sort of adoption. And you want to start your baseline implementation of those tools. Once you've got that, you start to monitor and collaborate. People start to work with the tools you have and understand what that baseline looks like. And that helps us. As teams start to use that, they identify enhancements or features that they'd like to see. They start to go, hey, is there any way to? I wonder if we could. It would be nice if. And that starts to help you understand where the value to your organization from these tools are aside from the baseline. And then generally at the end of that sort of first year, you'll be looking to deploy a SharePoint online solution for and migration to the cloud for online collaboration at distance. Some people will start with SharePoint and look at some of these others later. So there's no right or wrong way, but typically once you've started to get comfortable with some baseline in the M365 environment, the cloud managed service for collaboration starts to become more and more necessary. And that gains a general level of comfort working in this environment across your organization. Everybody kind of goes, okay, we've stabilized, we've figured it out, we understand what we're doing, and we can look to the future. So, how do we get there? How do we decide what our initial M365 components are going to be? That's where we look at using assessments to help us better understand what's of value to our organization. And this is going to vary for every organization involved. So you'll start by plotting out which of the tools based on your research fits where. Is it a low value, low impact, low value, high impact to the organization? And we just start identifying what is going to be the highest value, highest impact items that we can add into our environment. And we're going to either start with those high impact, high value, or we might start with the underlying pieces like Exchange Online. It's a high impact, low value to the end user day to day. Email seems like email, but from a backbone standpoint, a technical standpoint, that can be um, the foundation on which the other higher impact, high value items come. And that doesn't mean that any of these items don't have value. It just means what value do they have for your organization at this stage in development? Where are your biggest pain points? Where are the things that you need most? So I will often go through and do an assessment of the components, understanding that value. Another tool that I like to use is the adoption planning canvas. So the adoption planning canvas can be used for a single application or a single tool within the M365 or for the entire M365 platform that you're selecting. So you can kind of look at it. But the goal here is to start to fill out some of these sections, usually in a group. I recommend when you do this sort of planning that you include somebody from each layer of your organization. You need a technical person who is going to be able to let you know what you've already got and what it would take technically to get there. You want to have people from your executive team or management there to understand and drive the value they're looking for out of this. And you need somebody who's a little bit more on the front line, who understands how they're doing these tasks or this work day to day to make sure that you can kind of really fill out this adoption planning canvas. But you want to identify your key stakeholders. What are some of the activities that you have to get done to make sure that this is going to go? So, communicate an engagement plan. And it's important to remember that not all the key activities that you're going to be doing in an adoption plan are technical. The biggest barrier to adopting new methods, technologies, or tools is a lack of real communication and feedback from the people that you're giving the tools to. So make sure when you're looking at your key activities, you include things that are technical, like plan in detail your future state, but also things that are more geared toward understanding, like communication and engagement. Identify who your key resources at a minimum are going to be. And if possible, start putting names to faces. names to job titles, names to roles, so that you're saying, yeah, we're going to have some subject matter experts on this. Who are they? And identify those key resources. Work out what the value proposition is going to be for your organization. What is the value you're getting out of doing this? You're going to have better communication. You're going to have better collaboration. You're going to leverage a modern digital workspace to work from anywhere you want, anytime. But start asking yourselves, what is the value? Maybe you're saving money by shutting down network drives or servers that are taking up space and budget. That's part of a value proposition as well. So identifying what things are going to be really of value in your organization. And then what are our interactions? What are the things that we need to make sure that we're doing and building to have interactions between the tools and features in Microsoft 365 that we're implementing in this first year and things we might want to do in the future or things that we're already doing today in other systems? So do we want to automate business process? Are we, working with reporting or other visualizations? And Microsoft has actually been pretty self-aware here. The M365 platform has an application for just about anything as part of that platform, and you can build on and integrate and work with all of them. However, it's a little bit agnostic. So if you already have purchased the Oracle visualization suite and you use that to visualize your data, you don't have to buy Power BI. You don't have to have that. You can still have your existing software interact with data sources in SharePoint Online or other places. So keep in mind that it's not an all or nothing proposition. It's a little bit more a la carte, which is what makes M365 such a powerful environment and tool. So once you understand what interactions you're going to have, you want to understand what channels. What are the things that we're going to focus on right now? So in this case, in my example, we're looking at Teams, Power Platform, O365 groups, and we've identified right now in this first year for this planning canvas, what are the features that we need to make sure that we're getting involved. Next one we have is user segments. So user segments is a way for you to identify the different kinds of people who are going to be interacting with these tools and features. From your standard employees to, do you have site owners or do you have champions? Do you have third-party individuals who are going to be users in this environment because you have regular auditors that come in, or you have a partner organization that you want to share and collaborate with, and you're using these tools as a way to bridge that divide between two organizations? But take your time to try and really understand what the individual stakeholder segments, user segments are going to be for this application, and what kinds of things at a high level, what makes them that, what identifies them as a site owner or something else, so that you can make sure that when you're communicating out to your user groups about the tools, features, training, all of that, you're communicating the right message to the right individuals. And finally, we look at cost structure. What kind of pricing are you looking at here? What kind of licensing do you need for the different areas of your organization? Microsoft offers packages of licensing from E1 to E5, and they all have different things that are available to them and other applications that they get and things like that. And working to understand, is everybody in the organization going to have the same license, or do we have different licensing for different user segments? Maybe application owners have a higher level of licensing, or that sort of stuff. All of these get packaged up in a baseline license, but don't forget, you also have the ability, once again, to a la carte purchase individual licensing for one or more users when everybody doesn't need it. For example, say everybody doesn't need Power BI. They don't need to be looking at the data visualization reports. Those are going to be embedded in other reporting down the road. So we only need 10 people to have a license. We can buy those licenses separately instead of trying to get the level of licensing E5 that includes all of that automatically for every single employee. And that's a way that you can understand your spend and your cost structure. And when you're talking about cost structures too, remember to always factor in the savings that you're getting in a cloud managed service from not having the server maintenance, server space, server cooling, all of those costs in hardware are transferred to our cloud managed provider instead of having to be borne by our organization. So it's going to take a while to go through a planning canvas like this, and it's something that really is most useful when you have the group in the room, different people that are going to help you pull this together, maybe somebody who's going to be the project sponsor, somebody who believes in it, but you want technical, frontline worker, management, you want everybody involved so that you get the best adoption planning canvas you can, because that's going to be a guide, a key that's going to help you get to the end of your first year's journey. Now, once we've done that, we need to look at change management. And at LEDCOR, we use the ADCAR change management methodology, but there are other methodologies out there you can choose to use if you have something, an approach that's already embedded in your organization. Feel free to take this and just sort of think about it from that particular methodologies approach. But we have first awareness, making sure everybody in the organization understands well in advance before it just happens to them what we're implementing and why. You know, we're building a new shared platform we're excited because this is going to be amazing for our collaboration internally, externally, remote work. Make sure people are aware that it's happening. And then start to slowly trickle out sneak peeks or specific items of functionality that is going to have an impact to your end user, that's going to matter to them. Get them interested in seeing this new system, in getting to use it. Get them thinking about how much better things will be for them when that's in place. So desire, and then give them some knowledge. You know, let them know when how the system's being implemented, why, what features are going to work, how that all comes together, how that impacts their job. What's that knowledge? So I have desire to see the system. Now I want to understand, how's that going to impact my work, my processes, the things that I do. And then give them the ability to do that work by providing training and support to users so that they go into system use confident, feeling like this is good. It's not just another dead end project. They're not going to go back to their spreadsheet because they know that they understand how they can do this work and what this is going to look like. So making sure you give them the ability, and then reinforce that. Follow up on a regular basis. Have a feedback mechanism. How are people feeling about using OneDrive? How are people feeling about Microsoft Stream or whatever tool you've decided to implement? And if you continue that in a cycle of awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement, give them that support, your adoption journey in that first year is going to be pretty smooth, and it's going to set yourself up as an organization to really move into the next 2 to 5 year plan and look at where you can continue to improve and build on the building blocks that you started with in that first year. And so when we look at the adoption journey in that sort of 2 to 5 year range, at the beginning of that sort of year 2, power users have been identified, people who are early adopters, who have bought in, who are absolutely on board to help move this forward. And you can start to establish a champions network in the organization where people know, hey, these guys know a little bit more, they understand it a bit more, they can be of help, not just IT. And then comfortable teams start to look to leverage more tools and features. The people who've, in finance that have been using SharePoint or using Exchange, or starting to say, hey guys, can we get some workflows in here? Or we'd really like to see something else. And so once they've gotten comfortable, they can start to ask for those things in a really meaningful way so that you understand the value you're getting. And then we start to organize, the organization starts to update on the governance plan for the use of additional tools and features, right? So obviously part of implementing Microsoft 365 at the beginning is a level of governance, what people are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. But now that you're starting to move forward, you can start to update that, understand what was working and what wasn't working, and also add in new pieces to govern additional functional requirements or new implementations in your organization. Then we're going to look at organizations and teams at the reporting and visualization of that data, leveraging SharePoint Online and Power BI if you don't already have another visualization tool. You start to be able to see that the value of the data that's been collected, instead of just in 6 or 7 spreadsheets or in a Word document, but in lists and in other data sources within SharePoint and OneDrive, can be connected, and you can start to see trends and automatically start to see the way that things are happening faster, easier, and in an interactive way that can actually allow you or your end users to drill down into that data. And that can start to help build insights into your organization's business and your processes. Then we're going to start to explore integrations with third-party apps like a CRM or an ERP. So you might say, you know what, okay, we've gotten our Microsoft 365 environment pretty stable, and our business development team uses Salesforce. Let's start looking at the API integrations that are out there on market, or even some are free right now, to integrate Salesforce into our Teams environment, into our SharePoint environment, into whatever it is that we're leveraging. And not just Salesforce. There are over 1,000 different third-party integrations provided by Microsoft or third-party partners for applications that have nothing to do with Microsoft. So you have that ability to say, I don't have to give up my my JD Edwards ERP system in order to leverage SharePoint Online to the best of its ability. I can do both. I can start to integrate it. At that point, external collaboration for partners, clients, and other third parties is often formalized and implemented. Some organizations actually have external collaboration as a year one requirement because it's something that they absolutely believe that they need, or it's what's lacking for their organization. But many others are a little bit nervous about collaborating that way at first. They want to just make sure that they understand it internally. So depending on what level of maturity and the amount of external collaboration your organization does, you may not see that until your sort of year 2 to 5 journey is underway. And for others, that might be something that was happening really early on. Your organization wants to implement more complex compliance and security tools and features, things like automatic sensitivity labeling for content based on privacy or other factors, building in data loss prevention, restricting access based on enrolled devices, requiring multi-factor authentication. There's all kinds of additional things that can be implemented on the back end from a security and compliance standpoint that doesn't necessarily hit full force to your end users, but it has a massive impact on the IT department, on your reporting, on the meeting of regulatory requirements, on audits, and it really helps to keep you and your organization's information safe. And at that point, the organization has achieved a high performance collaboration platform, and you're continuously meeting and continuously improving the platform to meet the needs of the rest of your organization, partners, and everyone within that space. So, what are some of the key steps that we have here on this? Key steps to help you get there: implement an organizational champions network. These are embedded resources that live in the business. They're not the IT staff. They're in the business, in teams, and they develop or get additional training to help build their skills and abilities. This champions network are the people who are going to be able to work with IT to say, hey, here's something the business needs. Here's something that we think would really help build our platform. And they're also the people who help their own teams support their team and help them to use the platform to the best of their ability. As the platform stabilizes, new enhancements and automations are going to be requested. So be ready for that. Make sure that you've got a plan in place for how you want to receive requests for new functionality, what process you want to have for vetting whether that new functionality is approved across the organization or limited to a particular group. You want to develop business process automation, SharePoint sites, Power Apps, etc. So, for example, you can take a look at it and say, okay, this is the workflow. When an employee submits an expense, how do I want that expense to get approved? How can I automate that process to allow? And it's never to make your organization so efficient that your employees are out of a job. It's actually to get you more value out of the human resources that you have. Computers are smart, but they're not clever. They can only do exactly what they're told to do, and they don't necessarily do gut checks. They can't have intuitions. And so what you want is you want to reduce the tedious manual items that can be automated or workflowed so that the people that receive notifications are getting information, are seeing this stuff, have more of their time spent on analyzing that information, on identifying trends, on working with all of those aspects to add value and have that real value that they add to your organization, and less time producing a report, document manually, or pushing something manually. You want your IT department to really be working with leadership to monitor environment usage and to determine any additional technical implementations that you might want to see. It's really important to make sure that you understand what kind of IT information is available out there and how it's going to be used within your organization so that you have that ability, more than anything else, to give the organization exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs it. Now, I'm going to pop over into a live. There we go. A live demo of a little bit of what we're talking about here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how these different pieces integrate and interact with one another. So on this spot on communication site, I have my SharePoint sites set up, and I can connect actually to a Teams site, I can connect into something like this Power BI. So Power BI, as we talked about earlier, is a great visualization tool. So you ask yourself, what am I looking for? So connecting these pieces together allows us to create an interactive, automatic connection to the data that we have. So that allows us to connect to SharePoint lists, to SQL lists, to other databases, and to build something that individuals can actually interact with, filter, scan, and understand all of the detail related to these filters and these items. This is part of that idea of complete integration, the idea of living in a complete digital workspace. As a cloud managed service, we're getting continuous improvements, but we're also getting the ability to access our content anywhere, anytime, get push notifications for different items, see all of the information that's coming from different sites and different locations consolidated and rolled up in a single way. We've built out this idea that we can collaborate with each other in ways that we didn't do before, even when we're at a distance. And I think that that's something that's been missing in a lot of the other tools and features that we've seen over the years. For example, when we talk about a network drive, right? We talk about collaboration on a network drive. One of the downsides in collaborating on a network drive is that if I've got that file open, I'm the only one who can have that file open. And you have to wait to do your work until I'm complete doing my work. Now, what we've discovered is when we leverage things like SharePoint Online and Office 365 tools, what we've discovered is all of a sudden that's not a problem because Office 365 supports up to 50 people actively participating on the development of a document in SharePoint or in OneDrive at the same time. We're basically starting to see that the individuals can work together using Office 365 co-authoring and editing features. We have the ability to allow people to send comments, work on the same document, save time, and build in efficiencies and best practices while still affording us the opportunity to review for approvals, to build out more information, to do all of those kinds of things without feeling like we're stuck in a binary follow along loop. So it's one of those items where we've determined that there's a lot more that we can gain by working together in this kind of an environment than we cannot. And that's the big part of the adoption journey, is sort of understanding, what does your team need? What are their areas of risk? What kinds of things in your organization would you like to build or to do? So I'm wondering if there are any questions or if there's anything that I can share with the group to go through this. All right, well, it's been amazing to see you guys here for this first short webinar on the M365 adoption journey. We're really looking forward to seeing you guys come again. Thank you so much for your time, and please let us know if you'd like to take advantage of a 30-minute free consultation to help you work through your own adoption and planning board and better understand how this adoption journey can be developed for you guys. Thanks.